The Great Smog of London, the deadly fog that killed thousands. For 5 days in December 1952, a thick, poisonous fog engulfed London, turning the bustling city into a death trap. It was so dense that people couldn't see their own feet, traffic came to a standstill, and hospitals overflowed with patients struggling to breathe. By the time the smog finally lifted, at least 12,000 people were dead, and countless others suffered long-term health effects. What caused this disaster? And could it happen again? The perfect storm. How the smog formed. In the winter of 1952, London was facing one of its coldest Decembers. To keep warm, residents burned large amounts of coal, sending thick black smoke into the air. Factories and power plants also pumped pollutants into the sky. Usually these emissions would disperse, but a rare weather event trapped them over the city. A temperature inversion occurred, where a layer of warm air settled above the cold air at ground level, acting like a lid. This prevented pollutants from rising and dispersing, forcing them to accumulate over the city. Combined with high humidity, the result was a dense, toxic smog made up of soot, sulfur dioxide, and other deadly chemicals. The city comes to a halt. At first, Londoners weren't alarmed. Smog was common in the city, earning it the nickname the Big Smoke. But this time was different. By the evening of December 5th, visibility had dropped to near zero. People walking home couldn't see the pavement, and drivers abandoned their cars in the streets. Buses stopped running, and trains were delayed. Even indoor events were affected, with audiences in theaters unable to see the stage through the thick haze. Worst of all, the smog seeped into homes and buildings. It was impossible to escape. The air reeked of sulfur, and breathing felt like inhaling burning coal. Those with respiratory conditions suffered the most, but even healthy individuals felt their eyes burn and throats scratch. The death toll rises. By the second day, hospitals were overwhelmed. People arrived gasping for air, coughing up black phlegm. The elderly, children, and those with asthma or lung disease were particularly vulnerable. Doctors could do little to help, as there was no way to remove the toxic air from their patients' lungs. Initially, officials underestimated the severity of the crisis. The government reported only a few hundred deaths, but as the days passed, the numbers climbed. By the time the smog cleared on December 9th, at least 4,000 people had died. Later research estimated the true death toll to be around 12,000, with tens of thousands more suffering from long-term health complications. The hidden dangers of air pollution. The Great Smog was not just fog mixed with smoke, it was a lethal cocktail of chemicals. High levels of sulfur dioxide reacted with water vapor to create sulfuric acid, which burned lung tissue upon inhalation. The soot and particulate matter lodged deep into people's airways, leading to fatal respiratory failure. Many victims suffocated in their sleep. This event revealed just how deadly air pollution could be. Before 1952, pollution was considered a mere inconvenience, a side effect of industrial progress. But the Great Smog demonstrated that air pollution could kill thousands in just a few days. It wasn't just an environmental issue, it was a public health crisis. The aftermath, a wake-up call. The disaster was a turning point in environmental awareness. The British government, which initially downplayed the crisis, faced immense public pressure to act. In 1956, the Clean Air Act was passed, introducing stricter regulations on coal burning and promoting cleaner energy sources. Smoke-free zones were established in urban areas, and household chimneys were upgraded to reduce emissions. Despite these efforts, another smog event occurred in 1962, killing around 750 people. This reinforced the need for stronger air pollution laws, eventually leading to cleaner air in the decades that followed. But the Great Smog left a lasting impact, not just on London, but on the world. It became one of the earliest examples of how industrial pollution could spiral out of control if left unchecked. Could it happen again? While regulations have drastically reduced air pollution in the UK, cities around the world still experience deadly smog. In places like Beijing, Delhi, and Los Angeles, air pollution remains a major health risk, with millions exposed to hazardous air quality each year. Climate change and industrial expansion continue to threaten clean air. making the lessons from London's disaster more relevant than ever. Today, we know that air pollution contributes to millions of premature deaths worldwide. It has been linked to respiratory diseases, heart conditions, and even neurological disorders. While no single event has matched the scale of the Great Smog, modern pollution crises in industrial cities remind us that air quality is still a major global issue. Lessons learned: the fight for clean air. The Great Smog of 1952 forced governments to recognize that industrial progress should not come at the cost of human lives. The event led to groundbreaking research into air pollution, pushing scientists to study its long-term effects. Today, we understand that fine particulate matter, tiny pollution particles that can penetrate deep into the lungs and bloodstream, poses one of the biggest health risks. Modern air quality monitoring and environmental regulations owe much to the tragedy of 1952. Advances in technology have helped reduce pollution levels in many cities, but challenges remain. Fossil fuel combustion, deforestation, and rapid urbanization continue to produce harmful emissions. The legacy of the Great Smog. The Great Smog of 1952 remains one of history's worst environmental disasters. It served as a wake-up call that unchecked industrial pollution could have devastating consequences. Today, it stands as a reminder of why air quality regulations matter and how human actions can shape the health of entire populations. What do you think? Could modern pollution levels lead to another catastrophe like this?